The North American Society for the Psychology of Sport and Physical Activity, NASPSPA, will celebrate its 50th anniversary in June of 2017. As part of the celebrations, it was decided that we would interview previous distinguished scholars. My name is Dr. Penny McCullough, and today we will be chatting with Dr. Bev Ulrich. Through 2016, NASPSPA has named 24 distinguished scholars. Dr. Ulrich was named a distinguished scholar in 2015. This interview is being conducted in March of 2017. Good afternoon, Dr. Ulrich. How are you today?
I'm fine, Dr. McCullough. How are you?
I'm super duper. So, Bev, we'd like to find out a little bit about you. So, Dr. Ulrich, please tell us a little bit about your academic background.
Okay. It started when I was a high school student, choosing my career path, actually, and that is to say my college major. I wanted to combine my avocation, my love of sports and being active, with my vocation, that is my career. Therefore, I chose to earn my bachelor's degree in physical education from East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania and graduated in the spring of 1973. That fall, I started a job teaching elementary PE and began to pursue my master's degree at Westchester University, also in Pennsylvania, while teaching and coaching the high school girls tennis team. I did that for 4 years before taking my next step career-wise.
Okay, super. And do you still play some tennis?
I still love tennis. It's my favorite thing to do when I have some free time.
Excellent. Now, when did you decide to pursue a doctoral degree? And tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. In the mid-1970s, my husband and I were working as PE teachers. When we finished our master's degrees, he decided to go on to Michigan State University to earn his doctorate. I planned to go along and work odd jobs until he finished and then get back into teaching PE. But one of the part-time jobs I found was teaching and supervising student teachers in the MSU Motor Performance Study. That was how I learned about the Motor Development Doctoral Program. I really liked the research topics and required courses and had come to admire and respect the graduate students already involved in the program and the director, Dr. Vern Stiefelt. So I asked him if I could enroll, and he graciously took me on.
That's great. And what do you recall as your first exposure or interest or involvement in research?
My first exposure came during my master's program when I designed a study focused on the relation between static and dynamic balance test performance in elementary-age children. By the way, my participants were all the primary grade level students in the schools where I taught PE. No subject coercion there, was there? More extensive research experience emerged during my doctoral program, in which I assisted in assessing growth and motor performance as part of the longitudinal studies ongoing at MSU. I enjoyed that, but I have to say I really got hooked on research during my postdoctoral years at Indiana University, where I was Dr. Esther Thielen's first postdoc. Esther was rapidly in those days becoming the leader in bringing dynamic systems theory to the study of the emergence of motor skill patterns in infants and young children. I just loved the combination of this theoretical approach and its application to early skill development.
Well, you certainly had some excellent experiences along the way there. Tell us a little bit more about what sort of research interests did you have early on, and then did you continue in that, pursue that same line, or if you changed your line of research? Tell us a little bit about your progression in the research world.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, my research interest truly blossomed when I became a postdoctoral fellow with Esther Thielen in the psych department at Indiana. I was fortunate to work with her on developing and translating broad principles of dynamic systems theory, also known as complexity theory or chaos theory, into questions that applied to early development of motor control. We focused our experiments on infancy and tasks ranging from stepping and walking to reaching. This was a truly cutting-edge time for dynamic systems theory in the motor and the cognitive domains. Esther and I co-authored a monograph for child development that became a tutorial for many graduate courses in kinesiology, psychology, and physical therapy. The key was a focus on how new patterns of behavior are acquired, which includes how behavior shifts from one coordination pattern to another in order to achieve similar goals, but under changing conditions, whether those are internal conditions such as in changes in body size, strength, etc., or external conditions such as practice, changing the target size or support surface, and so on. Now, I did have a bit of a change in direction from that line of research that occurred in the early 90s, and it was driven by a conversation I had with my husband, Dr. Dale Ulrich. His research focused on the more clinical side of motor skill acquisition in children born with disabilities, while mine focused on healthy infants and more basic science questions. We discussed how my theoretical work might apply to the development of walking in infants with disabilities, which led us to design a series of studies. We began by replicating some basic science research I had done with healthy infants, but working now with infants born with Down syndrome. Ultimately, we built on the results of those studies to design an early intervention study. The exciting outcome was that we were the first to demonstrate in a well-controlled longitudinal study that the typical delay in onset of walking in this population could be significantly reduced by providing young infants with functionally relevant partial body weight supported stepping practice on a motorized treadmill. So that led me to develop an overarching approach to my work, which was a two-pronged approach of moving across the continuum from theory first to testing the clinical application of the information gained by testing that theory.
That's a great progression. Thank you so much for sharing that. What is the basic research question or underlying issue behind your research, and what have you tried to learn?
Well, as I mentioned, the follow-up to my early work involved babies born with Down syndrome, and that led me to a two-step approach to my science. My first step is always to design a series of basic science studies to uncover the underlying subsystems and capacities that individuals have available to them, that is, how they respond to stimuli, to context, to practice, etc. Then, based on that knowledge gained, the next step is to design intervention studies to determine if an intervention based on this information can truly be effective. If that works, then follow-up studies are needed to determine optimization, that is, the optimal timing of the intervention, the intensity, and so on.
That's great. Thanks. So tell us, now you've certainly been involved in research for a long time, Dr. Ulrich, and you certainly have conducted a lot of research. But tell us a little bit about a research project that you are particularly interested in or proud of, or that you feel made an impact on the field. And also, were there some other researchers that have had a profound influence on you and your work?
Well, Penny, for me, the one study that I'm most excited about is always the most recent one. And in this case, I do think this recent line of work will have a major impact on the field. It started with my last doctoral student prior to my retirement, Dr. Ryota Nishiori. We began working with a new brain imaging technique called functional near-infrared spectroscopy, also known as FNIRS. This is a non-invasive, quiet system that monitors the hemodynamic changes in the cortex when one performs a behavior. Similar to that of fMRI, but it allows more functional movement and testing of infants as well. It's less troubled by noise than EEG, thus allows greater ranges of movement. such as reaching and stepping or even walking. For the first time ever, we're beginning to document the emergence of organization in the motor cortex and other cortical regions that parallel babies' efforts, successful and unsuccessful, to produce functional motor outcomes, and see the changes that occur as control and success improve. This, to me, is simply amazing on the basic science level alone. It shows enormous potential for understanding both the initial conditions presented by infants with neuromotor control problems and enables us to monitor the impact that early therapies can have on the brain itself to enhance and optimize the development of these infants. So that's my favorite area of research these days.
And your most recent, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Well, Dr. Ulrich, you've been involved with NASPA for a long time, so tell us a little bit about that involvement.
It has been a long and fun time, I have to say. I've been presenting at NASPA conferences since 1983 and have missed only a few years since then. I've appreciated the supportive environment and the relatively small number of participants compared to other meetings. NASPA encourages discussion of ideas and interaction among scholars across subdisciplines. In my early years, I feel the presentation environment was a bit more intimidating than it is today. Maybe that's because I was younger then, but I believe it was because senior researchers pushed presenters to defend their points and offered lots of constructive criticism. It didn't always feel constructive in the moment, but ultimately it was a very healthy approach, forcing you to be very well prepared before you presented. And the conference environment itself enabled subsequent conversations among senior and junior scholars that was fun and enlightening and unsurpassed at other meetings. Because this organization gave me so much, I was motivated to give back. I volunteered to serve on and chair numerous program committees, served as president and as the past president's liaison. I've also been honored to receive several awards from NASPA, starting with the Outstanding Student Presentation Award in 1984 and the Early Career Scholar Award in 1992. One of the things I must say I love most about NASPA is that over the years I met and have become very best friends with many of the other members just by being involved in this wonderful organization.
Well, thank you. Well, the Outstanding Student Presentation Award, then the Early Career Award, and then being named Distinguished Scholar. So what did that mean to you when you were named Distinguished Scholar?
Well, I think that this is the most special honor I've received because it is based on my career accomplishments, my published work, yes, but contributions to the field in other ways too. And it was awarded to me by my peers, leading scientists themselves who followed my work over the years and know it and me well. In my case, I couldn't have been successful in the type of research I chose to do without a team of undergrads, grad students, postdocs, research associates, and collaborators. So this award is an affirmation, in my mind, of their contributions as well.
That's great. Do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with us at this point in time?
Well, I would just like to say thank you to the many people who volunteered their time to put together this very special 50th anniversary celebration for NASPA. Their efforts, and yours, Penny, have created a great event for the organization and its many members, past, present, and future. And I would say for anyone listening to this recording, if you've not yet volunteered to help out in this professional society or another, please consider doing so. Only through strong leadership do research societies thrive and drive excellence. The work is important, but it's also a great way to get to know some wonderful people. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Well, we would certainly like to thank you so much for taking some time this afternoon to share your thoughts. And we hope that lots of people will have the benefit to listen to this in the future. And we look forward to seeing you at the 50th anniversary celebration. Thank you for your time so much, Dr. Ulrich.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Penny.
Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.